Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever wondered how new stuff just appears on a website without the whole page having to refresh? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that bit of magic. We're going to trace the entire journey of data all the way from a server right onto your screen. Right? Think about it. You're scrolling through your social media feed, and new posts just keep loading in. Or you're on a shopping site, and the product list updates instantly. There's no clunky full-page reload. So how in the world does that happen? Well, that's exactly the question we're going to answer. So where does this all kick off? Well, it all starts with a simple request. Before your screen can show you anything new, your web browser first has to ask the server for that specific information. Now, this isn't just some casual, vague question. It's actually a very specific, standardized conversation that happens using a language called HTTP. And the verbs in this language, they're called HTTP methods. They tell the server exactly what the browser wants to do. And wow, look at this. There are actually a bunch of these methods. You've got things like post for sending new data up to the server, or delete for removing something. But for what we're doing today, which is just getting information to show you, we're going to focus on the most common one of all, the one highlighted right there, the get method. At its heart, a GET request is the simplest way of asking for something. You can almost hear the browser saying, "Hey server, could you please send me the data you have for this particular thing?" It's purely a read-only operation. We're not changing anything, we're just fetching what's already there. Okay, so our request has been sent. The server does its thing, finds the data, and sends it back. But what does that package of data actually look like when it shows up on our doorstep? You know, more often than not, this data shows up in a really organized list. And in the world of JavaScript, the perfect tool for a list is something called an array. Just think of it like a digital container that holds a sequence of items in a specific order, like all those social media posts or the products on a page. And here is a perfect example of what that looks like. Those square brackets on the outside, that's our array, the main container. Then inside, we have our individual items. In this case, each item is a self-contained package of information called an object, holding details like the product name and its stock status. This structure is seriously the backbone of how we organize data on the web. So we have our list, this array full of product information, but right now it's just a container. To actually do anything with the items inside, we need a way to go through that list, one by one, and look at each item individually. And that process, that's what we call iteration, or more simply, looping. So how do we do that? Well, JavaScript gives us this fantastic tool called the for-of loop. Its entire job is to go through something that's iterable, and an array is a perfect example, and give us access to each individual value inside of it, one after the other, until it gets to the very end. Now, this is super important. You don't want to get for-of mixed up with its cousin for-in. A for-in loop gives you the keys or the index numbers, like 0, 1, 2. But for-of gives you the actual values themselves. In our case, that's the laptop object and then the mouse object. And for displaying data, getting the actual values is exactly what we need. The logic is just beautifully simple, right? The loop starts at the very beginning of our array, it grabs that first item, and lets us do whatever we need to do with it. Once we're done, it automatically moves to the next item and repeats the whole thing until every single item in our list has been processed. Okay, so our loop is handing us each product, one by one. Let's zoom in on that step where we process the item. How do we take that single object and get its data ready for the big screen for the web page? So imagine the loop has just handed us this one object right here. It's this neat little package containing pairs of information. You've got a key, like product, and its value, laptop. To display this nicely, we need an easy way to get both the key and the value for each of these pairs. And for this, JavaScript hands us another incredibly powerful tool, objects.entries. It's almost like a magic trick. You give this function an object, and it completely transforms its structure into something way easier to work with. And check this out. Look at what it does. Object.entries takes our single object and turns it into an array of arrays. Each little array inside is a perfect key-value pair, like product, laptop, and status, in stock. This new format is a total game-changer for displaying data. So why do we even bother with this? What's the big deal? Well, because when the data is structured like this, as key-value pairs, it becomes incredibly easy to loop through the object's properties. We can grab the key, to use as a label, like status, and then grab the value, in stock, to display right next to it. It's the perfect setup for building out a nice clean list on a web page. All right, we've gone deep into all the individual steps. Now let's pull the camera back and see the entire journey all at once, from that very first request all the way to the final result on the screen. And here it is, the whole process from start to finish. Step 1, the browser sends a GET request to ask for information. 2, the server sends back an array full of data. 3, we use that awesome for-of loop to look at each item. 4, we use object.entries to transform each of those items. And finally, 5, we take that perfectly prepared data and use it to build what the user actually sees. So you see, what looks like web magic is really just a clever, logical process. It's built on a few core ideas: a standard way to ask for things, a structured way to receive them, like an array, and some really powerful JavaScript tools to work with it all. These pieces work together to create the dynamic websites we use every single day. So now that you know how it all works, what are you going to build?